That's a fantasy.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, because let's talk about how this got to this point. The Giants lost week 1 to the Cowboys 40-0. They were trailing 20-0 to the Cardinals in week 2 at halftime. And the Giants last year were 13th in the NFL in sacks, and they had 0 sacks in the first 2 games. So what did Martindale, their defensive coordinator, do at halftime of the Arizona game in week 2? He just said, I'm bringing the house, baby. If we're going down, we're going to burn this thing down. I'm going to blitz, and blitz some more. And that is really what led to their comeback against the Arizona Cardinals in week 2. They came back in that game. They outscored the Cardinals in the second half like 28-3, and they wound up winning the game. And so when I'm watching that, I'm saying to myself, guess what? They're bringing the blitz on Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy's a young quarterback. He's not Stafford. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not one of these guys that if you blitz him, he's definitely going to burn you. He's a young quarterback. So I knew they were going to bring the blitz, and I knew this was going to be kind of one of these, kind of a muddy game. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan knew it as well. And a lot of people, the Giants blitzed the Niners, as you said, 33 of 39 dropbacks. That was 85% of the dropbacks on the night. They brought some form of a blitz. Now, I went into the locker room after the game and talked to some of the O-linemen. I got the chance to talk one-on-one with Colton McKivitz. I got the chance to hear Jake Brendel and Aaron Banks talk a little bit about this. Banks gave up his first sack of the year, by the way. But they knew that not only were the Giants coming with blitzes, Damon, that they were going to come with well-timed and exotic blitzes from all different directions using all different kinds of players. Safety blitzes, corner blitzes, outside linebackers coming off the edge. And sure enough, it was a well-coordinated blitz. But credit Jake Brendel. What's that?
If there's a gap, they're going to shoot it.
Exactly. And credit Jake Brendel, who did a phenomenal job. Brendel is a really intelligent guy. He had to be on his mental, highest point to recognize all these blitzes, know which direction to slide the line, make all the proper calls. Brock Purdy last night against the blitz, 20 of 31 for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. As Dave Lombardi tweeted out, this was a masterclass on how to handle the blitz. In fact, Purdy averaged 2.42 seconds, which was his average snap to release last night. That's the 3rd fastest time in the NFL this season, and only behind Tua and Burrow. And the Giants blitzed at this crazy rate, and it just demanded that the ball get out quick, and Purdy did it very efficiently. Now, you can criticize him in the first half, and there were some really bad throws. I thought there was an interception that he threw that was going to be an interception that George Kittle batted down early in the game. The end zone pass that he threw to Debo on the Niners sideline in the first half was a ball that just floated, and anybody could have picked it off. Luckily, he got away with that. But what did Brock do? The Niners were 7 of 10 on third down conversions in the first half and built themselves an 11-point lead. They were up 17-6 going into the third quarter and going into halftime. So, I know, and then Purdy came out in the second half, and he was really good in the second half. And a lot of people were like, well, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy in the second half last night, 11 of 14 for 153 yards and a touchdown. And the ball that he threw to Debo to cap the night was a flat-out dime. So, we can be critical of Brock Purdy, and some of it is absolutely justified. But when all the smoke is cleared, Damon, the Niners have scored 30 or more in 6 consecutive regular season games. That's a new franchise record. We just saw Purdy have his bad game, still threw for 300-plus yards, and put up 30 points, and the Niners won going away. So the Niners are now 3-0. They're atop the NFC, and they get out of week 3 relatively healthy compared to some of the other teams in the league. And I think if you're a 49er fan this morning, you got to feel really, really good. And there were a lot of people on Twitter, especially, and I didn't see it in real time, but I saw it after the game, going back through the Niner tweets and all the stuff related to the game. There were people burying Brock Purdy. He's not good enough, this and that. It wasn't his masterpiece, but if you get blitzed as much as he got blitzed as a young player, a lot of times the reason D coordinators do this, Damon, is to get in that quarterback's head, make him rushed and hurried, and then hopefully he'll start making mistakes and hand you the football in turnovers. It did not happen. The Niners won the turnover battle. They didn't turn it over at all. They controlled the ball almost 2-1 time of possession. They almost had 3 times as many yards as the Giants and 2.5 times their points. So, I mean, Brock Purdy's not perfect, but guess what? Brock Purdy is still undefeated in games that he's started and finished in his career. That's pretty amazing.
One of the things that I thought about is, look, there is a cottage industry out there online, on YouTube, on Twitter, where people have decided to set up shop trying to sell you for their living what Brock Purdy is not. And obviously, there's some people who've had success with this, and God bless, go with God. I don't even want to relitigate this on a weekly basis.
We won't. We don't need to.
I'm not gonna. But there is a cottage industry trying to explain to you what Brock Purdy isn't. Now, there's also a cottage industry of people blowing smoke up your rear end, trying to pretend some things are there. And you and I are not those people. We are not going to sell you greatness when it's not in front of us. And last night was not a great game out of Brock Purdy. It was good. It was efficient. But what we saw
was really good in the second half.
As always, the star of the show for Kyle Shanahan is the system, is the game plan. And the game plan, although it sputtered at time, when it was done, it was pretty much executed perfectly, considering they faced a blitz rate that you don't even face playing your drunk buddy on a Saturday night in a game of Madden.
Exactly.
It was a all-out assault of go get him no matter what, and Purdy survived that. What I also want to bring up, and I thought of this last night, again, we're really good post-game. You give us, Larry, a night to sleep on something, that's when we get dangerous, and it's great to have everybody here for 49ers Wake Up. When I was a kid, the 49ers as a franchise defined what it was to have a franchise quarterback. I was born in 1975. I am, 8, 9, 10 years old in the dawn of the great Montana era that then becomes the Steve Young era. And as someone who grew up a Bears fan, I couldn't help but be wildly jealous of this concept of you mean you're allowed 2 great quarterbacks in your lifetime? I haven't even seen one yet as a Bears fan. I was like, but we got Walter Payton. That's fun. And it was fun. He was great. But
sweetness.
He was special, Larry. But here's the deal. And this is the point. I sort of went off kilter there for a minute. The franchise that defined the concept of franchise quarterback, with 2 Hall of Fame greatest to ever do it franchise quarterbacks, have never, ever put 30 points in a row up in 6 consecutive games.
Wow. That's amazing.
But this kid has in this system with this coach. And for those who have wanted to illuminate what isn't around the 49ers, here's what is. More production than the greatest memory your daddy has. I mean, that's the truth. It's the honest to God's truth in a league that is officially harder to be successful in than back in the day. Well, I don't know. There's an argument to be made there, but just everyone's got a ridiculous amount of talent. Everyone's got a good coach. Everyone's got a coordinator who's an inch away from becoming a head coach themselves. There's talent dripping in this league. The difference between the best team in football and the worst team in football is this. Where in Major League Baseball, it's this. In the NBA, it's this. In hockey, it's this. There is so little difference between the haves and the have-nots in this league. So to sustain anything for like a half a year, an 8-10 game run is really amazing. It really is. And what the 49ers have produced since Brock Purdy started being under center for Kyle Shanahan is nothing short of the most productive, successful scoring offense the franchise who gave you Jerry Rice, who gave you Joe Montana, who gave you Steve Young, who gave you Jonathan Taylor and Roger Craig in a list of the all-timers. They never did that. These guys are doing that.